Hello, you're watching Oathbound Secrets. We're experiencing a little bit of a heat wave over here in Britain. Everyone's melting. I spent the bank holiday weekend up in London. Went to a music festival called Cross the Tracks. Amazing, and I just want to say, while I was up there, I was really appreciating London culture, London multiculturalism, the beauty of people from all around the world living together, creating music, having a fun time, street parties everywhere. I don't know, it's good vibes. I think we should be celebrating that. I think that is something that we should really all be celebrating. Like, wow, isn't it amazing that Britain as a whole, has such diversity, has people from literally all over the world, and isn't it interesting? Isn't it fun? Isn't it exciting? Like, why isn't that fun and exciting to be able to like feel like you're traveling the world in one city? Is that not fun and exciting? I don't know. Like, I don't know why some people feel threatened by that. I don't know why some people feel scared by the idea of like all different types of people all living together. Like, I think that's a beautiful thing. So I don't know. But something that I got when I was in London was this little tiny Quran written in English. I've always wanted one of these. I've always wanted one of these. They were giving them out for free. Little kids were handing them out to people, and I thought that was so adorable. And I was like, yes, please, because I've always been curious to read it for myself. Because, people say a lot of stuff about Islam and what the Quran apparently says. And it's like, well, actually, I want to read it for myself so I can judge from my own perspective of what this book is all about. It seems like too small. Isn't it tiny? Like, there must be more to it than that. I've read Bibles before. Actually, do you get Bibles this size? Maybe. How do they cram it all in? I read the King James Bible when I was a kid. I was like 11, and there were like a few people in my class or whatever in my neighborhood who were Christian, and they were very insistent. They were like, no, Annika, you need to come to church. And I was like, what are these people talking about? So that's why I decided at that young age, I was like, I'm just going to read this whole book. I was that kind of kid. I was the kind of kid reading encyclopedias for fun. I was the kind of kid just like spending lunchtime in the library, like, and after school in the library too. I was just like book mad. And why not read the King James Bible cover to cover? Why the hell not? Shocking, to be honest. Absolutely shocking content. Should come with an age restriction, honestly. It should come with a warning. Like, what is this stuff that I'm reading? It was completely mad, totally mental. And like the foundational myth of the Abrahamic religions, all of the uh, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, they're all Abrahamic religions because they all have the foundational myth of Abraham. And if you are familiar with the story of Abraham, sorry, my chair is creaking. The foundational myth about Abraham is that basically he had a command from God to kill his son. And that's like, sorry, what? I'm sorry. Oh, we founding all of these religions on like the craziest story I've like. This is mad, and I'm laughing because it's just like I can't actually comprehend the fact that all these religions like look back to this story and go, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds like a rational bunch of people. And who is this God that they're worshipping that tells you to kill your son? Literally says to him, put your son down on the altar and stab him in the chest. Like, what? What kind of demonic monster is this? And then And then an angel comes down and says, no, 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 that was just a test. That was a test. Sorry, what? What the fuck? And then he says, you know what? Oh, we weren't really going to get you to kill your son. Instead, we want you to chop the end of his penis off. What? I'm sorry, what? You were... And then it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. From now on, all your sons just chop the penis, end of the penis off. Yeah, we don't need that bit. Don't need that bit. Cut it off. What? I'm sorry, you want us to do what? Oh my gosh. Sorry, I don't want to be making fun of people because obviously people choose. I'm crying. People choose their religions and they love their religions, and that is what is fulfilling and good for them, and they enjoy it, obviously. So, I'm all for people, following whatever religion they want. And if that is what, helps you in your life and makes you feel good, then I'm happy for you. But this is like my personal experience of reading these stories is just like, oh, it's weird stuff, guys. It's really weird. And I think each different religion, like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, will all have their own ways of like interpreting these stories and like rationalizing what was going on. Um, and they're all worshipping the same God of Abraham. And I find it kind of weird when people talk about Islam as if it's something completely separate, as if it's something completely different, as if Allah is like some other God, some completely different God. Like, no, Allah is just another word for the same God of the Bible, the same God of Abraham. He just there are like multiple terms that are used to refer to this God. I find it actually very strange that Christians, English speaking Christians, tend to refer to God just simply as the word God. Like, what's his name? Why are you just calling him? Like, there's so many gods in the world. Why are you just calling him God? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. What is your name? But I do kind of understand the idea that his name is supposedly so holy that it cannot be spoken. That comes from Judaism. So Judaism will have like different terms that they are allowed to use for their God, but they're not allowed to say his very holy name. So in the Old Testament, in the Torah and the Tanakh and whatever, you'll find various different words that are used for that God. And who is he? Who is he? The God of Abraham. Really, I watch a lot of videos about the history of the Abrahamic religions. Love that stuff. Absolutely love it. I usually focus quite heavily on Christianity because that's what is more like prevalent where I live. And so I want to understand it fully, and I want to know like all of the backstory. I want to know all of the history. I want to know all the different sects and schisms and things that happened over time. I just find it really fascinating, and I want to get to know Islam as well. I want to fully understand all of the history of Islam because I have like a vague idea. Yeah, okay, so Muhammad was this guy, blah blah blah, and and I think, a lot of people say various things about who he was and what his moral character was, but it's like, come on, all of the old guys in the Bible, you can be criticizing their moral character and who the hell they were, because what the hell was Abraham up to? What I really love doing is delving like deep, deep, deep into the history of, what was before the Abrahamic sort of religion became monotheistic, because was Abraham even a monotheist? I don't know. Like, you look back in time, to like that region of West Asia and the kind of religion that was being practiced back then. was polytheism, as it was pretty much everywhere in the world, and there were lots of different gods and goddesses being worshipped, and one of the most prominent gods was El, who was considered like chief top dog, and 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 at some point, this idea of El became sort of turned into monotheism. Basically, I don't know how to explain that fully because that's a long old topic in itself. But basically, what we boil it down to is that what was polytheism sort of kind of shifted and turned into monotheism. I think a huge factor in this was the kind of philosophy, religions, spirituality from ancient Persia, because in Persia you had Zoroastrianism, and in that kind of religious worldview, the cosmos was seen as a battle between two forces of good and bad, light and dark. And this kind of worldview really, I believe, is what shaped the Abrahamic monotheistic religions, like kind of like I think henotheism is like actually a better word for what was going on, because it was like they still believed that other gods and goddesses existed, but that their god was the one true god that should be worshipped, whereas all the other gods should not be worshipped. And all the other gods are bad gods. Don't worship those gods. They're bad gods. Only worship this one god. He's the only good god. And this whole kind of like rejection of goddesses, and the kind of suppression of women's freedom, was really fucked up. What was that all about, guys? What was that all about? That's why I've got another book that I've been reading. I've just got this. Look, She Rises. Why Goddess, Feminism, Activism, and Spirituality. Edited by Helen Hai-Suk Hwang and Carly Cargill from Margot Books. It's a great big book. It's way bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's all about goddess spirituality and reclaiming the goddess, and reviving goddess worship, and how that ties into women's rights and all this good stuff. So that's a nice one to have when you're down the beach. What worries me is the amount of fear and hatred that is kind of propagated and spread and encouraged. And I think all of this kind of Christian nationalism stuff is really, really toxic. And the constant like fear mongering about Muslims is kind of crazy. But what is it based on? What is it based on? Just pure like fear and insecurity. One thing I find really weird is like when Christians criticize Muslims, it's like, guys, you're basically the same. Like, how can you criticize? Like, you're so similar. Really, I'm just like, what? Hello. And I just find it like quite hypocritical, basically, when they're kind of pointing their fingers at each other. Like, guys, you've all got problems. You've all got problems that you need to work on. And the real issue right now in Britain and all over the world is that there has become a very popular belief, a kind of like a conspiracy theory, that Muslims are trying to take over, and that they're always talking about Sharia law. They're trying to take over the country. There's too many Muslims, and I can't keep like chuckling and laughing about this, because it's actually really fucking serious and really scary that what used to be a very underground neo-Nazi movement has become very like predominant in mainstream culture over the last approximately 15 years. What was a very niche, like weirdo Nazi conspiracy theory has now been broadly accepted by so many people as just like a matter of fact. Yeah, no, it's an invasion of Muslims who want to take over the world, and we're being replaced, and yeah, it's called the Great Replacement Theory, and it has its origins in Nazi Germany. Ooh. So, people, I don't know if people really understand that the stuff that they're talking about is a Nazi conspiracy theory. Like, do people have any awareness? Like, it's kind of like, the World War II was not that long ago. How have people forgotten? How have people forgotten these old tricks that people used to divide everyone against each other and have them fighting against each other, and you know embracing fascism? Like, it's happening again, and it's tension is the word. This kind of tension, it always happens during an economic crash, and we are currently in Britain, and I don't know how widespread it is, but definitely here we're experiencing an economic disaster, and it's only going to get worse. Oh, brace yourselves, it's only going to get worse. So, what is the fix? How do we solve this problem? The the real fucking terrible situation that we're in right now is that all our politicians want to blame immigration. And they're selling people this idea that, oh, if we just stop immigration, then that will magically solve all of our economic problems. And it's like, that's not how the economy works. Fucking hell. But it's just repeated so often in mainstream media that it becomes like this background noise that people kind of just absorb, and it implants itself into people's brains, and then they regurgitate this total fucking bullshit. Oh, breathe. I've been watching a whole bunch of very helpful YouTube videos. While I'm at work, I always like stick a little YouTube video on in the background. And I've been watching a lot of really, really good videos. I watched one recently that was an interview with an author. Oh, what was his name? Oh, I have to remember that now and put it. I'll probably write it down there in the description. But he was talking about a book that he'd written that basically explains what this great replacement bullshit is all about, and it's very, very interesting, documenting this process that has been happening over the past approximately 15 years, more or less, maybe 15 to 20 years, and how this idea has kind of spread and become popularized. The first time that I actually really like came across it, like I don't think I was really aware of this idea until a bunch of like far right people, like this very blatantly far right organization. I won't name it because fuck them. They went leafleting my neighborhood, and because I live in an area that is not wealthy, I think they deliberately target areas that are economically like low down on the scale, and they were putting these leaflets through the door. And gosh, do I still have that leaflet somewhere? I don't know, but it basically said something about white people are being replaced and white people will become a minority in this country. What did they say, by 2030 or 2060 or something like that? It had this like very big white people are being replaced. And like then little information and stuff saying like, oh, these immigrants coming over, oh, they're trying to replace us with Muslims and Sharia law and blah 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 blah. Like the same shit that you just keep hearing all the time, and that's become so fucking mainstream now. And that like really like woke me up to it, and I was like, what the fuck, what the fuck is this? And then I got very fucking hyper focused, and I was like, I have to understand what the fuck is going on. Like, this is an attempt to sabotage community by making people like suspicious of each other. Like it's the same shit that the Nazis did, for people to be all like, what's it called? Suspicious of Jews. You know, Nazi Germany made it so that everyone was suspicious of Jews. Oh, Jews, what are they doing? Oh, and now the far right are using the same tactics but against Muslims. It's the same fucking shit. If you have a good brain for pattern recognition, then it's quite fucking obvious. But a lot of people just seem totally oblivious, and it does frustrate me when people kind of just don't pay any attention to this stuff and they're just kind of like going, oh, just ignore it, it'll go away. Like, no, sorry, but ignoring it does not make it go away, unfortunately. That ignoring it is kind of like accepting and tolerating it, you know? Like, if you can tolerate that, guess what's going to happen next? Guess what's going to happen next? Yeah, you got to start decreasing your tolerance levels for this shit. You know, you gotta have boundaries. You need to have boundaries, and you can't just tolerate everything. Like some things are dangerous, and you need to say no, thank you. So yeah, I think that's probably enough of a video for now. I'm gonna try and read the Quran cover to cover, and I'm gonna try and read this big beast of a book and let you know my thoughts. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.